Okay, today we are on to chapter 4, and Bill and Gloria are going to go on their first date. So Gloria's house was easy to get to. Just go past the church, take the first right onto Main Street, and then a second right onto Mullen Parkway. It was really just a dead-end street with a large grassy, curved area down the center. Gloria lived in the third house from the end on the right. It was a square salt box style house, 2-story, white with pale blue shutters. Flower boxes hung under the twin windows on each side of the front door. There was a wooden wishing well in the middle of the front lawn with the bird bath up closer to the house. The grass was nicely cut with a flower bed in impeccable order. I went up to the door to announce my arrival. Gloria had already spotted me through the large glass door to the front door as she making her way to the kitchen. "Please come in and say hi to Mom before we go," said Gloria as she waved for me to come into their house. "Sure, I'd be glad to," I responded as we exchanged smiles. I realized that little courtesies like that meant a lot to her. I found Mrs. James in the living room, which was furnished with very old but well-maintained furniture. Most of the upholstery had large floral patterns in it, probably the same furniture she owned when Mr. James died. "Hi, Mrs. James," I offer. "Bill Allen, I met you at church this morning with the Lawlers." "I enjoyed Pastor Brown's sermon," I added, trying to make some small talk. "Good afternoon, Bill," said Miss James. "Yes, it was a very comforting message today," she continued as she looked up from the sewing she was involved with. "Did you have a nice dinner with the Lawlers? That Mary is quite a cook. She was most kind to us to cook us a meal or two a while back. Don't know what we would have done without Gus and Mary's help. What are you kids off to today?" Well, Gloria said she might like some ice cream, and I thought it might give us a chance to get better acquainted. Give me a chance to learn a little bit more about this town I'm about to call home. I was looking for some positive response from her. I felt very uncomfortable around Mrs. James. I didn't know why. I just did. I wasn't really sure what to expect. "Mom will only be gone a little while," Gloria informed. "You'll be all right till we get back, won't you, Mom?" she asked. "I'll be just fine," Mrs. James said. "I've got plenty of mending to do to keep me busy. You two run along and have a good time, and please don't worry about me. I can take care of myself." She said it as though she had to admit that there had been a time when she hadn't taken care of herself, or Gloria for that matter. Gloria turned and headed for the coat rack by the front door and took a light white jacket and laid it across her arm. "Nice to see you again, Mrs. James. We'll be back soon," I said as I followed Gloria to the front door. "Nice to see you too, Bill," she replied. "You both have fun." Gloria directed me to a small ice cream shop out on East Main Street that made all their own ice cream on the premises. They had flavors that I'd never heard of before, let alone tasted. The couple in front of us got banana splits and a strawberry shortcake. The portions were gigantic, with the ice cream pushing the toppings and the whipped cream over the sides of the cardboard bowls. I enjoy eating and I loved ice cream, but I wasn't sure I could tackle one of those after a meal at Mary and Gus's house. Gloria and I settled for 2 scoops of French vanilla with some strawberry topping and some whipped cream. We spotted a vacant round oak table with 2 beechwood chairs with turn spindles and scroll crowns. Very nice furniture for an ice cream shop, I thought. We sat down and ate quietly for a few minutes. I decided to break the silence. "Gloria, I don't mean to be nosy or pry. Your mother seems so much older than Mary, but I'd bet that they were very close in age. Is it because of your father? A little bit of silence. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, I continued, giving Gloria a chance not to dredge up any bad feelings. No, it's okay, said Gloria. I don't mind talking about my father, what little I know or remember about him. And you're right about my mom. She is actually 2 years younger than Mary Lawler. I know it seems hard to believe, but she took Dad's dying pretty hard. I was only 5 then, but Mary told me some of the things a little at a time. I guess she fed me as much as she thought I could handle at the time. Mary is a pretty good judge of character and has a lot of empathy for people. You'll find out for yourself after you've lived with them for a while. Mary is the kind of person I have no doubt that will end up in heaven. She may even be one of those guardian angels. That wouldn't surprise me at all, Gloria added. My father was a lieutenant with the fire department, a big, strong man. But I remember his gentle nature. I remember he would pick me up and whirl me around after I would greet him at the front door when he came home at night. He would always muzzle me right in my neck and cheek, and I would giggle and laugh because his whiskers would tickle as they scraped across my skin. Then he would always finish by blowing on my neck. Oh, what a sound he would make. Oh, I laughed so hard. Mom would come out and half-heartedly try and get him to stop, but her smile gave her away. And it was only her hair away from my laughter. Dad would keep right on until we got into the kitchen. Only Mom was telling him to wash up for dinner, and that would put an end to my pleasurable torment. After he washed up, he would sneak behind my mom at the stove and put her arms around her waist and rest her head on his shoulders. Would he blow on her neck too, I asked. No, he would kiss her a couple of times on the neck. She would tilt her head way back, enjoying every moment of it. They were so in love. I was glad to see Gloria was happy with memories of her father. It's too hard her mom couldn't use those happy memories to lift up her spirits, I thought. Your father must have been a great guy. What else do you remember? I asked. He would let me try on his fireman's helmet. And once in a while, Gloria continued, he would laugh so hard when my whole head would disappear inside as the brim would hit my shoulders. He would then pick me up and drop my feet and legs into his large rubber boots. He would then make my way into the kitchen, making these awful monster noises, like I was some creature from outer space. Mom would shriek and pretend like she was frightened to death and summon my father to her defense. He would search frantically to find some weapon to suppress this alien monster who was attempting to harm his Snow White. He would normally find either an umbrella, a broom, or even a spatula and force me into a closet. I remember frantically shouting, it's me, Dad. Don't close the door. Gloria's not a monster." I had no intention of being closed up in that dark closet. Every kid knows there are monsters in those closets. But it was great fun. I loved my dad, and I know he loved me so much. He was the best father a kid could have. It was really tragic when he had his sudden heart attack, and even the EMTs couldn't save him. Tears were welling up in Gloria's eyes. "Gloria, I'm sorry," I state. "I didn't mean for these memories to make you sad and depressed." I reached across the table and put my left hand on top of her right. I used my right thumb to brush away the tears running slowly down her soft cheeks. Please, Gloria, I said sincerely, I am sorry. Let's change the subject if you want. A smile came slowly back across her lovely face. She laughed a short burst and sniffled. I'm sorry, said Gloria, as I reached into my back pocket and handed her my handkerchief. I usually don't embarrass my dates like this, making a scene. People here will probably think you just broke off our engagement or something, I said. I immediately turned around to see if we had drawn any spectators. Luckily, all the other customers had left, and the employees had their back to us as they cleaned and rearranged the back counter. Don't worry, you big bully. You had already scared them off, said Gloria teasingly. She smiled warmly to pacify a possible embarrassment. You were lucky this time, she said. Gloria and I sat for a while and finished our ice cream. I could sense by the way she returned my glances that her sadness was diminishing. I wanted to start up another conversation, but I knew it would have to be on another subject, for Gloria was not going to be depressed again today. Gloria, I said, deciding to break the ice, tell me about Bob Lawler. Gus told me some of the things concerning his athletic ability, but it seemed to me that a guy like that would have had every college recruiter on the planet courting him. Some would have even camped out on the Lawler's lawn, I would have thought. Why did a guy like that end up going into the Army Air Corps? There must be some story there. Gloria looked up with those big, beautiful eyes of hers. So you really want to know the Bob Lawler story, do you? She replied. You're not one of those snoopy Chicago reporters working undercover, looking for the scoop of the century, are you? She inquired jokingly. A big smile broke across her face. Well, Gloria began, Bob Lawler was probably the most gifted high school athlete ever to come out of Connecticut high schools. He was first-team All-State in football and baseball his sophomore, junior, and senior years, and second-team All-State in basketball his junior and senior years as well. If it had anything to do with the ball, Bob could excel in it. He was unbelievable. And you're right. Recruiters were literally crawling all over the Lawlers. People from the Big Ten, Pac-10, SEC, Big Eight, the Southwest Conference, the ACC, and even the Ivy League. They were all courting Bob since his sophomore year. Bob hinted that there were even quite a few offers of cars, money, vacations, bogus jobs from alumni that were all in violation of the NCAA rules. Bob really became turned off about all of it, she added. But Gloria, I asked, it had to be just more than that. Most athletes have to deal with some sort of that, and I'm sure there are some recruiters who are under more enormous pressure that sometimes causes them to probably stretch across the boundaries. These stories make their way into the paper now and then. It's almost a joke to call college athletics amateur anymore with a huge amount of money at stake. Bob had to be aware of this, especially with his dad in professional baseball for just about his whole life. Gloria, there must be something else to this story. Gloria looked up with a little old smirk on her face, like she knew something I didn't, and she did. Well, Bob was a little naive, Gloria continued, not just about college sports, but about life in general, I guess. You see, Bob was very religious, or should I say very spiritual. In Bob's life, everything was right or wrong, black or white. There was no room for a gray area in Bob's world. Bob was too deeply religious that he probably read more about the Bible than Pastor Brown. His religious convictions had Bob living in a world that to us would seem unrealistic, and his athletic ability thrust him into a world that Bob was unready to deal with. To Bob, it was just a game, To others, it was now big business. Gloria paused and collected her thoughts and then continued. Bob went on a campus visit set up by his football coach and a recruiter. Bob had called me early on Saturday and told me everything was set for him to sign a letter of intent to enroll there in the fall. He seemed very excited. He said he felt very comfortable with the coaching staff, the facilities, the academic help he could get. Bob wouldn't, because he graduated number 9 in his class, and most importantly, the opportunity for him to play more than just one sport was really important to him. Bob called again later, Gloria said, at 9 p.m., saying he was going to go out with some of the players from the football team that they met after the game. It was one of the biggest games of the year. He was supposed to come home sometime on Sunday afternoon. Well, Bob got home very early Sunday morning, very upset. Some member of the faculty drove Bob home. The Lawlers had never seen Bob so upset before. He closed him up in his room and wouldn't talk to anyone. Bob missed school on Monday and Tuesday, the first days that I think he's missed his whole life. Mary and Gus were getting quite concerned. They called the university to find out what had happened, but their spokesman claimed they had no clue. Bob had signed a letter of intent Saturday, and they assumed that everything was fine. But it was obvious not now, Gloria added, shaking her head. My curiosity was aroused now. What could have gone so wrong that would have gotten Bob so upset that he would cut short his campus visit? Booze, women, rowdy college kids? Who knows? Bob was probably a teetotaler, I thought, and probably also a virgin. Talk about two endangered species on college campuses these days. But I had to let Gloria tell it her way. There was no point being smart or coy at Bob's expense. Gloria had never said where she and Bob actually stood in their relationship, so it might be smart to play dumb for a while. That would not be too hard for me to do anyway. I certainly didn't graduate 9th in my class. Gloria, I asked, what got Bob so upset? Well, continued Gloria with a very serious look on her face, Bob had gone out for pizza with some of the players, and Bob had signed his letter of intent. I'll bet it was some party, all right. It seemed that Bob consumed his first beers ever at this little celebration and was so loopy had to be carried back to the dorm. Gloria, was that the first time that has ever happened? I chirped in. No, probably not for a bunch of these guys at the college. But for Bob, it was a first. Unforgivable. But not the whole end of the story. Some of the players who brought Bob back to the visitor suite at the dorm thought it might be a good time for a practical joke. Bob had passed out, but he found himself early the next morning, buck naked, laying in this king-size bed next to this blonde cheerleader he had remembered meeting the night before. And she was totally out of it, and she was naked as well. Bob finally talked about it and claimed he couldn't remember anything of what happened. They were probably both so inebriated that all they could do was sleep. You could always count on Bob to tell the truth, that was for sure. Bob said he got dressed and out of the room before she woke up. I guess it was then that Bob got really mad for the first